Hello everyone, and welcome to this presentation on how to use the Roosevelt Library databases for your research for your upcoming paper. I apologize for being a little dressed down. It's very hot in the apartment today because it's very cold outside. And I apologize for any background noise you may hear. Probably the cats are running around or the ceiling fans going or what have you. Hope everyone's doing well. Now, just a few things to say before I start this. For some reason, I'm not getting into the databases from my house. It's not allowing me to do it. If you have that same problem, please let me know. If it turns out you can't get into these databases, then we'll figure something out. We'll probably have you use Google or something. Ugh. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing you should do is go into the course documents tab on Blackboard and go to handouts. And what you're going to find there is this document, which is a quick guide to doing research at Roosevelt. It may actually be a bit outdated, to be honest, because I'm not sure that Roosevelt still has you sign in this way anymore, but I'm still going to go over it just so you know. For all the databases, you're going to go to the Roosevelt Library website and click on databases. I'll show you exactly what that looks like in a minute. If you're off campus, and I'm assuming that all of you are, and I hope you are, then it may ask you once you click on one of the databases to log in using your 9-digit Roosevelt ID number, preceded by 23311. If your 9-digit ID number was 123456789, then you log in with 233111, 234, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you see how that works. Now, it may not do that anymore, but that's what you do with all three of the databases I'm going to show you today. What I would do is download this document and make sure that you have it at hand so that you can look at it while you're trying to log into the databases. Okay, this is the Roosevelt Library website. Obviously, it's just roosevelt.edu/library. Now, there are a few things to cover very quickly. First of all, since we're in quarantine at the moment, or distancing, or whatever it is that we're doing, you should definitely look at this page so that you know exactly how you can get in touch with librarians if you need to, because they are still available. You can either text a librarian at this number, or you can message or chat them. There's actually a chat link on the website, or you can email them. If you get stuck in your research, that's exactly what you should be doing. And you can request library research help online. There's a sign-up sheet here to schedule an appointment, and so on. They're still doing, they're not doing interlibrary loan requests for print items. Journals they can still do if they're e-resources. They're not going to be charging you any overdue fines, so you're good. But the main thing you need to know is back here. And this is going to be remote database access for you. Now, if you go back to this page, your first instinct is going to be to put a keyword in here because it says search. Don't do that, because that will search for everything. That will search for books and articles and media, which means video and such. That's kind of taking a sledgehammer to the whole research process. What you need to do instead is visit the library databases, and that link is going to be here. Now we're going to look at three databases in this presentation. The first one is going to be under C, and it is going to be CQ Researcher, which is right here. For the reasons I stated earlier, I can't get there directly, but when you click on that link and you log in, you're going to see a page that looks like this. This is CQ Researcher. It's Congressional Quarterly, and it is a set of reports that are written by experienced journalists that cover the issues of the day. And they do a different report on a different topic every week, which is really awesome because these articles provide an overview of the situation, historical background, chronology, a pro-con feature, which is great, and additional resources, as well as graphics, photos, and sidebars. Now you notice that this week they're doing something on the healthcare industry for obvious reasons, since we are now in the throes of the coronavirus pandemic. Let's go ahead and click on that and see what it looks like. All right, this is what the report looks like when it is on the website. You see we have our introduction. We have an overview of the situation. In fact, I'm going to do it from up here so you can see it better. We have a full background on all of this. We have the current situation as it exists now, the outlook, which is going to be about what's coming up in the future as they see it, pro con, which is incredibly good if you want different perspectives on the particular issue that they're talking about. In this case, it's can telehealth help address the nation's primary care shortage, because that's becoming a big thing now. Now, here's the thing about the pro cons. If you want to use each of these separately, then those would count as separate sources. I will allow them as separate sources. So if you need 5 sources for your paper, then the whole report can be one source, and each of these can be a source by itself, which is really useful. Be careful of that, though. Make sure that you're not doing all of your research on CQ Researcher, because even though it's a lot more balanced than most research tools are, it's still looking at just one source. So it's a good idea to have a variety of sources. We then get a chronology with the history of the issue. Short features are going to be other articles about the issues. In this case, it looks like there's only the one. Usually there's 2 or 3. We have maps and graphs for those of you who are more visually oriented. They also provide an extensive bibliography. And the nice thing about these bibs are that if you click on them and you wait forever, it should take you to the book that they are talking about. And in most cases, you can check out that book through WorldCat. In fact, let me show you how that looks. Now, it might be kind of difficult to do this. You may not want to do the whole books thing. In fact, I would suggest not doing the books thing since we have such a short time left in the semester. I would suggest going for the articles. And you notice that they use these tinyurl.com links. And as I showed you how to do when we covered MLA documentation. And those link directly to the articles that they themselves are using for their research on this particular article, which is always a good thing. They also give you other articles that have to do with specific subcategories of that issue. If you really want to do interviews, or if you really want to check out the websites that they look at, there's a contacts. They also have extensive footnotes. So if ever you see one of these in the article somewhere, you can click on it and go directly to that particular source. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Nice thing about this is you can view it as a PDF. Problem is, CQ Researcher has had some of their funding pulled, and thus their PDFs look a little stodgy these days. As a matter of fact, remember what I said about web pages do not have page numbers. This is the only time that you should ever use the page number, because it is a PDF, so this is going to be fixed pagination. It'll be perfectly fine. I'll show you why I say that, because some of the older reports, in fact, let's see if we can pull up one from, say, 2014. This report on veterans healthcare is from 2014, and if you look at the PDF here, it looks exactly like it does on the website, which is really a shame. If you do have one of these older PDFs, you'd use this page number for anything that you're citing, just so you know. But for the newer ones, where it says page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2, you would use those. All right, let's go back a little bit and go back to home. Okay, beware of these topics, hot topics on the side, because the hot topics may have something that you really want to write about, but these are going to be what they call short reports. They are not nearly as extensive, and they're actually follow-ups to longer reports on the same issue. So by all means, what you should do is go with the longer report, and if you see there's a short report attached to it, then by all means go into that. All right, we're going to go back in the healthcare industry, and we're going to show you how to get this. If you do the view PDF option, you can of course download it, or you can print any part of this particular report just by hitting print and then choosing which part of the report you want to print out. It doesn't have to be the whole report because the whole report's like 20 pages. You can email a section of the report to yourself. And again, you can email just a section. It'll usually send it as a PDF attachment. And the button you really need to know about is the Cite Now button. If you click on that, it's going to generate works cited page citations for your paper for this particular report. If you're doing the pro-con articles as separate sources, then you would generate that citation and then replace the name of the report and the name of the author with the name of the author and the pro-con article. Unfortunately, for some reason, it is not working for me. I don't know why. There's something going on with my internet, but if you try it, in fact, I would suggest that you try it. Click on it and you'll see that there is an MLA button that you would use there, and that is what you would use for your citation. The second database we're going to is going to be called Opposing Viewpoints in Context. Some of you may already have used this. In fact, I think some of you may have used many of these back in high school if you did research then. There is a main page that gives you an overview article, which you can use as a source for your paper. And you can save this to Google Drive. You can save it to the cloud. You can email it. You can download it. You can change the font size. If you speak a language other than English, you can have it translated to your local language, though I will warn you, it is a little bit wonky, the translation. Les maladies infectieuses contagieuses sont causées par des micro-organismes, virus, bactéries, parasites ou champignons qui sont transmis d'une personne à une autre par contact occasionnel comme la grippe. Sorry, obviously my language is a little screwy today, but not as screwy as the translation is. So be careful of that. It might be best to read it in English, and then if there's a concept that you're not getting, go ahead and look at the translation. You could also have it read to you by clicking this button. It may take a little while for it to load up, but that's fine. You can change the settings on this if you want it to go slower or faster, that's fine. You can also download it as an MP3. You'd have to agree to the terms for downloading the audio, but that's perfectly fine. It's giving me an error, go figure. I don't know why that is. It should not give you an error. If it does, please let me know. And then down at the very bottom, it's going to immediately give you your MLA citation for this particular article, which is great. And you can, of course, export it in any way you choose. But what I would suggest doing is just selecting it and copying it into your paper template on the Works Cited page, as I showed you in class. You can also go up here and click the Cite button, and it'll give it to you as well. And you should go with this first one, which of course is MLA 8. And I just lost that. I don't know why, but that's fine. Oh, it went down there. If we go back to the main page, you're going to see that on the Issues of Interest page, they give you at least 2 or 3 different issues you can look at. And going down, they also allow you to browse issues, including updated articles. Or you can just do a search, which is up here. And what will happen when you do this, say we're doing an article, we're looking for articles rather on online gambling. Then we click here, you can see that you have your overview article, but you also have articles that are broken down into various different categories. And if you're wanting to look for opinion pieces, you're going to look for featured viewpoints or viewpoints. If you're looking for peer-reviewed sources or academic sources, then you go to academic journals. They're all here, which is really nice. The thing to remember is that when you click on one of these, you're going to first get an article commentary, which is written by the editors. Be careful not to cite that as part of the article. That's actually written by the editors, but it does tell you who it is that's writing it and where they're writing this article, because this is a content aggregator website. The articles that appear here are actually from other sources. In fact, if you go down here to the citation from MLA, it tells you where it's originally published. Now, when I show you Academic Search Complete, you may be able to find the original article if you choose. But if you want to simply cite this as your source, it's perfectly fine to do it. You just do all the steps that I told you to already. And this also gives you those options of translation and listening to it and everything else. Since it's called opposing viewpoints, you will be able to find various different views on the same topic, and apparently mullets, I thought those went out of style, on any topic that you're wanting to write about. What I would do if you're not sure of a topic is probably start here, and then you can look under all these categories and see if there's something that you would like particularly to write about. So that's opposing viewpoints. Now we've come back to our library databases list. I'm going to show you the last database that you need to think about, which is Academic Search Complete, which is here. If you click on this, the way I would start doing research using Academic Search Complete is to type in whatever search term you're going to do. Let's say healthcare in the United States, because it's very much on our mind right now, and just hit search. And oh my goodness, we've got 110,581 sources. That's a lot of sources to have to get through. Probably too many. So how do we get through all this? Well, this is what we do. First of all, we want to limit it to full text. Now, let me show you why. Most of these sources do have full text, but you're eventually going to run into one that does not give you the text. In fact, there's one right now. It's an academic journal, and for some reason, we don't have a subscription to it, which is why it's here. So it's not available to us. What we need is to limit it on the side here to limit to full text. That narrows it down to a more comfortable 52,239. That's still too many. Now, if you're ever asked to do scholarly articles for a research project, you're going to click this button and you're going to see that it does narrow it down pretty precisely. Though in this case it doesn't, it's 23,321. So we're going to unclick that. And we're going to narrow the range of the dates. And we're going to do that by pulling this little slidey thingy up to 2000. Just the last 20 years should do it. Come on, you know you want to do this. There we go. Gives us 46,000, okay? Now let's come down here to the source types, and you're going to see that it breaks it down according to academic journals, trade publications, magazines, newspapers, and book reviews. Let's just go with magazines. That's still going to take us to 10,368. But at least now we are specifically getting articles that have to do with the healthcare debate as it exists right now. The first one up is the public option is a poison pill. This is going to be a conservative argument against the public option. How do I know that? Because one, the title tells me so. Two, The Nation is a definitely conservative source, and I'll talk about that next week when I tell you how to go over different types of sources and how to evaluate them. Doctors for Medicare's for All, since it comes from Time Magazine, it's going to be a little more in the middle, but it is definitely giving a pro Medicare for All or public option argument. The Sickness of Our System is probably going to be against it, but it's going to be a short article. This is where you tell that, for instance. And The Business Perspective, how doctors broke healthcare, how to fix American healthcare. So just on this first page of results, we've got about 5 or 6 good sources. Let's go ahead and click on this first one. And you're going to get the rundown of that particular article, the research record for it, which is going to tell you where it's published, when it's published, how long it is, and whether it has photographs or not, and it does have the images here. It also tells you the subject terms that that particular article can be found under, and most importantly, it gives you an abstract. The authors argue that the proposed healthcare insurance option is good rhetoric but bad policy. Okay, that tells you that it is an argument against. So there you go. Now down here, you're going to see that you have the text of the article. And again, just like opposing viewpoints, you can translate it into another language if that will help with comprehension. You can have it read to you. The fun thing that I like to do is to put it on an Australian accent and then give the Australian guy some coffee and then listen to him as he reads the article to me, which I hope it will do for you because it didn't last time.
The public option is a poison pill.
There we go.
Contents. 1. In US health insurance, good guys finish last 2.
On the Bobby. Yes. And again, you can download it as an MP3, which is incredibly useful for anybody that has difficulties processing text, because that means what you can do then is download it as an MP3 and read along, which is incredibly helpful. Most articles are going to have that. That's going to be HTML full text, what we just looked at. But they may also have the option for PDF full text. And if they have the option for PDF full text, then you get an actual photograph of the article as it was originally appearing in that particular issue of the magazine. And you get the page numbers, the original page numbers. Now, just so you know, when you're citing sources like this, if you're doing a PDF full text, please use the page numbers. If you have a source that is nothing but HTML full text, you don't have to, because I wouldn't expect you to know where that quotation comes from. Now you can download this PDF, of course, which is a very good thing to do. In fact, I would definitely suggest you do that in any case when you have a PDF full text. And let me again show you why it is that you can't do page numbers with PDF. This is going to be on your works cited page. It's going to tell what the page range is for that particular article, but it doesn't give you the page numbers. So there's no way for you to tell. If you were to cite, say, this sentence, or this paragraph rather, then you would not be able to cite the page number, whereas if you had the PDF, you could. All right, that's the difference between the two of them. You can save this to Google Drive. Most people don't use the folder, so I'm not going to cover it. You can print it. You can email it. It will email as a PDF, regardless of whether it is HTML or PDF. But still, if it's HTML originally, please do not cite those page numbers because they're not non-fixed pagination. You can cite it, and in fact, this is one of the two important things that you need to have, that you need to know about. This is going to give you the citation for the end of your paper, and you have to scroll down for this one, but you get this. Now, just a warning about this, because I'm going to show you something that you have to be careful that you do. You remember the paper template you're supposed to be using for all your papers. Now, this one is for a different class, but it's essentially the same thing. If you scroll down to the last page, you're going to find the works cited page, which is already pre-formatted, which is an extremely good thing. Now, I copied that source out, and I'm going to paste it. In fact, what I'm going to do is go up here and go to merge formatting, and there you go. Don't worry about this, by the way. If the website does that, then don't worry about it. That's just the way some of these are done. It doesn't have, if it's in all caps, I'm not going to be complaining too much. What I will complain about, though, is this, because if you leave it like this, you will not be able to click on it unless you're signed in. In fact, you're going to have to do something else, and I'm going to show you what that is here in a minute. Okay, you have to go back here, click on permalink, and then copy this. And additionally, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to make a tiny URL of that. And you remember how to do that, right? It is tinyurl.com. And you go here, copy it in, make the URL, copy it to your clipboard, and then you're going to go back to that document. And when you go back to the document, you're going to paste it here. And you're going to hit your space key, and that's going to make it a hot link. And remember what you learned from MLA documentation, that you also have to put the access date for each one of your sources. And I'm putting March 2020, March 29, 2020, because that's when I'm recording this. Now you would do that just for Academic Search Complete, because it's the only one that is wonky about that. If you're doing something from opposing viewpoints, they also have a long web address. You can do the tiny URL if you want to there, that's fine. You will not be able to do this with CQ Researcher, nor do you have to, because CQ Researcher doesn't have HTML addresses. I'm sorry, HTML addresses, HTTP addresses for its articles. But if you copy and paste them, you won't get a hot link, but you'll still be able to copy it and I'll be able to get to it. All right. All right. And that's it. Those are the 3 databases you should be looking at if you're starting to research a paper for whatever assignment that you're doing that involves research. Now, remember that you have to make sure that you do have your MLA documentations correct on your works cited page, and that you're citing those sources in the paper itself using your quotation sandwich, where you're introducing the quote, giving the quotation, and then explaining the quotation. And you should make sure that all of your sources on your works cited pages are linkable, and that I'm able to click on them or at least copy and paste them so I can go back to the original source and check it. All right. If it turns out you can't get into one of those, please let me know. I can allow you to do research on Google, though it takes a little bit of doing, because Google will throw everything at you when you really just want a few articles. And in this case, you can use Wikipedia, but only if you can use Wikipedia, but only if you use their hot links. And let me show you what I mean by that. If we go into Wikipedia and say we do COVID-19. All right, let's see which one we want to look at. Let's look at this one, SARS, which is not what's going around right now, thank goodness. You see these little superscript numbers? They all have a source attached to them. Never cite Wikipedia by itself. Always go to one of these, because these are going to be linked to the articles that Wikipedia itself actually uses. And that's what you need to do. Okay, that's everything. If you have any questions or concerns, just email me or text me, or we can set up a Zoom meeting. Otherwise, I'm going to set you free to do this research for your assignment. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully.